And they said it couldn't be done. They said there was no way Jim could hit all his audio cues perfectly. And yet here we are, folks, for another amazing week of the Rec Poker Podcast. This is the forums edition of the show where we talk about a forum post or a hand from the home game here on the air with our premium members. I guess I should start us off by thanking our sponsors, the amazing folks at the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. We couldn't do what we do without you. Thank you so much. Here at Rec Poker, we're a very enthusiastic group of amateur poker players. We're recreational players. That just means we like to have fun playing the game. We think that games should be fun, but it's more fun when you win. And that's why we train together, we study together, we play together, we commiserate, and we help each other explore this game. One of the great ways that we do it is through our premium membership program at rec.poker. Most of what we do is free. We're a largely volunteer-based organization, but we've got a fantastic premium membership as well. And we've got a couple premium members here joining us tonight. But I want to first start by shouting out our Wrecking Crew members. You get used to hearing my voice on Mondays because they let me host the show, but I am just one of a group, one of a gang, one of a village that makes the magic happen here at Rec Poker. And if you want to find out more about me and the rest of the Wrecking Crew, I'm Jim Reed. I'm Rec Poker Jim on Twitter and Blusterini in the home game. And you can head on over to rec.poker/crew, because when you get there, you're going to see a bunch of smiling faces of everyone on the Wrecking Crew, and you can find out even more about them by clicking on their links. So, but you don't have to wait that long because you're going to meet a couple of them here tonight, starting with the one and only Kim Petvet Kilroy.
Hello, I'm Kim Kilroy. I'm petvet_33 on Twitter and Fergie56 in the home game.
And I'm Taylor Moss. You can find me on Twitter at Taylor_Moss or Gopher Boy TJM in the Rec Poker home game.
I'm Rob Washam. I'm here. You can find me as Rabman50 just about everywhere.
Thanks, Rob. And we have a little fun around here. We also have a little fun with the technical elements of running a successful professional podcast. But hey, you didn't tune in to pro.poker, okay? You knew what you were getting into here. And speaking of getting into, we've got a couple of our premium members that are going to be getting into some fun and trouble with us tonight. I love that Rec Poker Premium members can come and join us on the air to talk about things that are on their mind. Tonight, we're joined by Jim Cree and Stu Carriage. Jim, why don't you unmute and tell the folks at home where they can get a hold of you? And thanks for joining us on the show this week.
Nobody wants to get a hold of me. That's fine. You can take my chips on Poker Stars on the home game at I'm Jack All One. Same on Rec Poker. In the past, I've played a lot of bar leagues and just mostly free poker. I splash around online, but I'm looking to go to the next level, and that's why I'm here.
Nice, man. Well, that's a very common story, and I think you've made a great first step by coming on and, like I say, putting your questions in the forums and opening yourself up to the group here, because I think it makes a big difference once you kind of put yourself out there. You get a lot more out of it, so congratulations. Stu, you're a regular appearance. You're a regular here on the forums edition, but in case folks don't know, where can they get a hold of you?
Stuart Carriage. I am Stewie13 on the home games, and I'm Stu Pid on one other site. I won't tell you which one.
Well, so thanks, gang. I love the support from our premium members. Your $15 a month makes a huge difference to our operation here. It helps us out a lot. And it's just one of the ways that we love engaging with our premium members, having them here on the show. So feel free to chip in. We're going to be talking about a forum post by Dingo tonight. Now, Dingo takes a very specific forum post question that we're going to expand on a bit. They're talking about pregame mental playlists, and they're talking about like music or speeches or things that get them amped up to get into the game. We're going to take that point and talk about other ways that you can prepare not only for a game, for a tournament, for a series, but some of the things that you can do at home, at the casino, to sort of set yourself up for success, both before you play and after you're cooling down. So why don't we start? I guess we'll start by actually just answering Dingo's question here. What kind? Do you guys have like psych up music or music that you play that gets you in the mood to play cards or to get focused? I know my response to the forum post here, I find that vocals get distracting to me. I find that they kind of break my focus. So for me, I like to use something instrumental. And some of you will laugh, but NFL Films has some amazing music that goes along with their productions. You can just Google, some of the names are really silly and they'll make you laugh, but it's like band music. It's like driving instrumental music, lots of horns and drums. And I find that actually gets me in the right frame of mind. Anybody else? Is there a kind of music or a particular track or something like that that kind of helps you bring some focus? Jim?
Just anything kind of rocky from the 90s I like.
Nice. Taylor, you unmuted there for a sec too.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I don't really like lyrical music, especially talking about when I'm playing. There's plenty of ways that you can go about getting different like instrumental things. My personal favorite is there's an artist out there that culminates playlist called Lo-Fi Girl. And there's some really good playlists there that are just, like general beats and things to listen to. So that's generally what I'm listening to. If I'm playing live, I try to not listen to music at the same time, just kind of pick up on what other people are talking about. You can gain a lot of information on people, but sometimes people are also annoying. So then you also sometimes do want to have something to like help drown them out a bit. So I guess be prepared to drown them out, but live I typically am not listening to anything.
And we've done episodes before on how to prepare for a tournament, sort of like the night before at the venue, that kind of thing. So we're not going to rehash all that here on the show today. But with the WSOP right around the corner, one of the things that came up was, how do you select the tournaments to play? What are the factors that you look for? Is it rakes? Is it rake proportion? Is it the structure? Is it just the buy-in? Is different numbers of seats at the table? There's so many different ways you can cut up poker tournaments. And sometimes when a series comes to town, there's one tournament a day for a week or a week and a half, and you can kind of just pick and choose that day if you're going to play. Maybe there's some that fit your style, maybe some that don't fit as well. But at a time like June in Las Vegas, there's not only the WSOP series, but there's also a slew of daily tournaments in various casinos, other series going on at that time. And you really have to pick and choose which ones are going to be good for you. So we've got a few members on the panel here tonight that have done a bit of traveling and have sort of had to take this approach. So I'm going to open it up to everybody here on the show. When you are thinking, and not necessarily traveling, but when there's a poker series around and you're going to play some of the tournaments, but not all of them, how do you decide between them? And what makes a tournament attractive to you? Whoever wants to unmute first. Taylor, please jump in.
Yeah. I try and figure out what days I'm going to be there and then see like what are the big events going on at that time. Essentially, like what's my buy-in range? Like, am I willing to play 1Ks? Am I willing to, only go to like the $500 level, $300 level, whatever it may be. But like start with the big ones that you want to play. Are there any multi-day events, and understand like what the schedule would look like for those pieces? And kind of start with like the big rocks, if you will, figure out the ones that you want on your schedule, and then see what else is available. There's a lot of other side tournaments, dailies that they run, especially at the WSOP. There's some good ones at other casinos. You should also be aware of like how far away they are, what would travel look like. But typically I'm trying to play like 4 or 5 full days of poker whenever I'm down there. So I'm like trying to find, what am I planning on playing? What's my backup if I bust? So my backup if I bust that, and kind of, square out a full schedule for myself so I can know what I want to do ahead of time. So whenever I bust from a tournament, I know like what my next step is going to be. So I like being prepared, and I just kind of start with the big ones I want to play and then fill in the rest of the pieces from there.
I like that. Stu, what about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. When we travel, I usually pick one that's about $1,100 tournament, and then the others are average $200 to $300, and that's based on structure too. You don't want anything that's got a 15-minute blinds or bad structures. So, yeah, basically the same thing.
And so you can find the structure sheets online, usually when you're looking to go do a trip. And when you're, what are some of like the red flags or the green flags that you're looking for there, Stu? It sounded like, so the speed at which the blinds increase is a major one.
Yeah, there was one tournament that one of the PFFs was in, and it was basically a shove fest at the final table. They had 4 or 5 big blinds, and that was ridiculous. That was a kind of hyper turbo. But yeah, I like a tournament where you've got chips at final table, where you've got some play, and that you don't get many of those. But yeah, you can usually find a structure sheet online, or sometimes at the front of the venue they have structure sheets.
Yep,
that you can pick up.
Yeah, good point. So buy-in, I think, as Taylor was saying, buy-in's kind of the main driver for a lot of these, because that's going to tell you a lot about the field and the field size as well. Typically, Rob, what about you? What are you looking for?
Yeah, I was going to say field size. First, I choose what my bankroll looks like, and how I can make that last, assuming I don't cash huge at some point, right? What my bankroll is going to look like, because you can never count on that. And then I look at what types of field sizes we're looking at, because yeah, you can get into a 2,000 field tournament, but your ROI in something like that is going to be really, really low compared to, say, a 200 player tournament or a $250 or 250 player tournament. So I kind of look at where that sweet spot is to have a little bit better chance of a significant ROI based on your bankroll capabilities of what you feel you can play. And then, like Taylor, I always like to have that backup. If I go to this tournament and I bust out early, is there another tournament I can go to? So always looking at that. And when you're in Vegas during the World Series of Poker, there are tons of tournaments you can go to. And so it's always good to have that, where can I go? How far is it? I'm usually in today's world, I always have a car there now because I'm driving there.
Nice.
But back in the day, I didn't. And so I'd have to cab from one place to another. And depending on how far it is, it all of a sudden I got to one I thought I was going to get into, and they had a 100-player waiting list. And I was like, oh, shoot. So then I ended up, not playing anything the rest of that night. So you got to be, you got to know where it is, how fast it's going to get you, how fast you can get there from wherever you are that busted, and go from there.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. I think, so another thing, oh yeah, Kim, please.
Well, I was going to say, for when you're looking, if this is one of your first times going to Vegas, you should download the app called Poker Atlas. It's an app it's available on the iPhone. I'm assuming it's available on Android as well. And you can plug in Las Vegas. It'll have every tournament that's going on and in that day. It'll also give you links to the cash rooms and how many people are on the waiting list and things like that in the cash rooms. So it's really good. There's also a website for tournaments. It's called poker-schedule.com/tournaments. And that will give you also a list of all the summer tournaments happening in Vegas.
Nice. That's a great resource. And of course, people know there's Kenny Hallard's spreadsheet out there as well. I know a couple other, over the last year or two, some other people have started putting together some really comprehensive guides to specifically the summer in Las Vegas tournament schedules. So some great ways to cut that up and get into it. Of course, I would also say Poker Facts, our own Mark Prashant's. If you go to pokerfacts.com, you can find a number of fantastic breakdowns and structure sheets and all sorts of information about tournaments that might be playing near you. Jim, you've typed in the chat here, beware of the satellites if you bust from the scheduled one. Can you unmute and share a little more about that element?
Well, I was just saying, be aware if there's satellites to other ones that you want to go to. If you have, if heaven forbid you bust from the original tournament you're there for.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's
or the
a good
first
point.
one you're going to.
Yeah, a lot of these series, they're going to be there for a while. So they're going to have satellites running earlier in the week. And if, like Taylor says, have a backup in mind, it might not be another tournament in the series. It might be a satellite. That's a great point, Jim. And you can earn your way into a main event or something like that. So I like Rob's point about finding that sweet spot of field size, because you got to ask yourself, like, what is the goal for this poker trip? Why am I playing in these tournaments? There's an element of ROI, there's an element of life experience, maybe there's some prestige involved. Like, I think a lot of players, when they go down to Las Vegas this summer, part of it is to win a bracelet. There's this element, I want to win a bracelet. I want to cash in a bracelet event. And I totally understand that. That's such a cool feature of the poker world. There's something special about playing in these kind of prestige tournaments, the PCA, a lot of these other fantastic major tournament series that come around there. So balancing that kind of the excitement and life experience of playing in a tournament like that with a high buy-in and a large field, your odds of cashing are not nearly as good in playing in a smaller, more modest, maybe a kind of, less prestigious event. So that tension between those two sides of the spectrum exists on every poker trip, and just know thyself, know why you're there, and just play in a way that allows you to reach your goals. Rob, you had something, and then I think Taylor next.
Carlos Welch talked about this on the Thinking Poker podcast some time ago, that he looked for tournaments where the big pros weren't going to be playing, because that's going to be a softer field for a recreational player, a studied player, but still a recreational player. Why put yourself into the spot where you're surrounded by, Darren Elias's? You don't want to be in that spot. You want to be in the spot where you are actually have maybe a bit of advantage over the field. So look for those types of events that you are pretty sure that the pros aren't going to be showing up to.
I like that. Taylor?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, it's the WSOP. Like, it's the once a year type of thing. Like, it can be cool to play against those pros too. Like, that may be like part of the thing that you're looking for, and go, okay, hey, it's $1,000 buy-in by playing in one that has, slightly more pros. Maybe my ROI goes down $50 or something like that, but screw it. I'm willing to take the chance to play with Negreanu and Hellmuth and those types of people for that. So like that can be part of it too. So you got to understand, like, what are your own personal motives in those different pieces. There are people that play professionally, like Carlos, that like, yeah, no, that's the right decision. Like, this is like your career. This is what you're trying to do. Game select. But then there's other people that are like, hey, I want to play in WSOP events. I want to play in large field events. Again, two things that are probably like not the best for your personal ROI, but hey, it's good for your life EV. If that's what you're going out there to do, like, go do it.
That's I like that. I mean, we're people living life first, and we're poker players second. And I think one of the things that especially recreational players take from this game is the fun, the pleasure of it. For Lord's sake, I mean, let's enjoy the game. Let's enjoy the experience. Let's go on vacation. And so the last thing that I was going to say for people is to give themselves some time to enjoy wherever they have traveled to. Is there a beach? Go get some sand between your toes. Is there a mountain to climb nearby? Is there a canyon to go observe with some fun people you're with? Go have fun. If you're in Las Vegas, go check out the desert. Or I guess there's a lot of things you could do in Las Vegas, but take advantage of where you are. So I had thought we were going to include in this show a question about sort of your pregame warm up and your postgame wind down, but I think that actually might be a good enough subject itself that we're going to save it for next week and have a podcast episode just talking about that, whether you're home or at the local casino. So with that in mind, folks, is there anything else that we can talk about with regard to sort of planning for a series, or maybe we should just tell folks one more time, like the key things that you must have in your bag if you're traveling? I guess the few things you must remember if you're going to be there, and we've talked about this before, but it's so important. I'm just going to say it again here. Get verified. If the tournament series requires you to go check in with your ID somewhere to prove you are who you say you are, go get that done before the day of your tournament. You don't need that lineup in your head messing with you while you're about to go sit down. Go get that taken care of. Get a player's card. Get yourself ready to go so that when the tournament day comes, you can just show up and sit down and start crushing on the felt. I like to get there the day before. I don't want to rush from the airport, have to worry about early check-ins, some junk like that. Try and get there the day before. Give yourself a chance to go case the venue. Where are the washrooms? Where's the restaurant that you're going to want to be getting your meal on break? How close is it to your hotel room? That kind of stuff. It can be really important to just kind of have that in your mind already. So why don't we just close off the show today with some contents of the bag? I think this is kind of an important one. Taylor, did you want to jump in there?
Yep. Kind of like the 3 must-haves, I guess 2 in the bag and then 1 in your head. Refillable water bottle. I have to have that. They do, go around with water, but like at the WSOP, it takes forever. You could order water and not get one for an hour, and that's probably pretty normal. So I bring my own water bottles. I bring warmer clothes because when the AC is blasting inside, depending on where you're at in the room, it could be very warm, it could be very cold. I like to be prepared and have some sweatpants, sweatshirt there in case that. And then, like you said, I want to know what I'm doing for food when I'm like, I don't want to be thinking about it when I'm playing. I want to know what I'm going to be doing beforehand and have my game plan ready for whenever a dinner break comes up or I need to get some sort of food in me.
I like that. Rob?
I like that a lot. They definitely having that sweatshirt in the bag, some water. And then for snack type things, you want things like granola bars that are wrapped, things that you don't have to handle with your hands, the food itself with your hands, because you're going to be touching a lot of chips and a lot of cards that everybody else in the room is touching. So you don't want to do that. I think water, some snacks. And then to Taylor's point, I know when I played in the main event, my wife was also there, and we were staying across from the Rio over at the Gold Coast, and they have a Subway there. So I said, hey, break is here. She went in before anybody got there, ordered up the food, and so I just slid right in. Boom. My Subway was there waiting for me, and and I went from there. It was a perfect thing. And then right as I got there, half the people in the tournament were right behind me, right, going to the same place. And there was a very long line, but I didn't have to wait at all. So that's the way to do it.
And that's a great point that we haven't talked about here as much. But if you're traveling with friends or a loved one, you have a huge advantage if you can get a runner or like a helper, someone to help at the tables, whether it's bringing you a bottle of water, placing your order, 15 minutes before the break starts so that you can go collect. You never know. You might be, getting into the final table and someone can start doing research on who are the other players at your table, who are these players to your left, depending on how involved in poker your friends are, they could be a really valuable resource in that way. But even just something as simple as even like watching your stuff while you go do something. I mean, having a friend with you is really, really valuable. And I like Rob's point about food that you don't have to touch with your hands to eat. That's one of the reasons I actually like a banana, because while you're peeling it, you can just eat it. You don't have to actually touch it. And that's why all my peanut butter and jam sandwiches come in Ziploc bags, because I can just fold the bag and eat the sandwich out of the bag. So anytime I'm traveling, I'm always stopping at the grocery store or convenience store or something and getting a loaf of bread, a jar of peanut butter, a jar of jam, and a case and a bunch of bananas if I can, because that's a good one for me. And definitely not only a phone charger, but I also like to have like a backup battery case, like a reserve battery charger for it as well, because you never even know if you're going to be able to charge it at the time that you think you might need to charge it. So I think that's important. And I'll just double up on what these guys are saying as well, like, layers, so that you're going to be comfortable in a variety of different temperatures. You never know if you're going to get moved to one part of the room is right under the AC or something. It could be a completely different temperature than in the other side of the room. We've got some good comments here in the chat as well. Taylor reminding folks that a lot of tourneys start later in the day, so the mornings are generally open, which is a great point. That's a good time to go walk around the city. Make sure you've had a chance to stretch, get a nice breakfast, put yourself in game shape. Jim talking about getting a Caesars players card. Exactly, that's the kind of thing that you want to get in advance, so that you don't have to worry about it when it comes down to tournament day. And the other thing is, don't be afraid to ask. Sometimes the poker world can be a little off-putting. Poker players aren't always necessarily the most approachable, but you'll probably find a couple people in there with a smile on their face. And they're, generally a smile is an invitation. But also, like, the floor people are there to help. And there are no stupid questions. There's nothing to feel silly about, especially if you're new to a casino or new to a venue or new to poker. Go tap someone with a name tag on the shoulder, and they'll just tell you exactly what you need to know. So just do it before 5 minutes before the tournament starts. Then you'll be doing them a favor, and you'll be doing yourself a favor at the same time. So what do you think, folks? What else should people be thinking about if they're trying to target a particular tournament series coming up? Is there anything else that we should put on the list, or should we just wait until next week to talk about our pre-game and post-game routine? I see a lot of pleasant stares, but no nods. So thank you to Taylor, Rob, Jim, Kim, and Stu. Thank you to the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. And to you, the listeners. We couldn't do it without you. Thanks for your support, and we'll see you next week. All right.